Hello and a very warm welcome to Pathashala Bulletin. I am Anil Kumar, and in this podcast we are going to see some important current affairs of the day. Here are the highlights for the day. Astana posting violates Supreme Court verdict, says Delhi Assembly. 391 complaints of sexual harassment, says Centre. The long road to winning the battle against trafficking. Rupee rises to 3 weeks high on Fed stance. Let's see each one of them in detail. Astana posting violates Supreme Court verdict, says Delhi Assembly. The Delhi Assembly adopted a resolution expressing strong disapproval of the decision of the Union Ministry of Home Affairs to appoint IPS officer Rakesh Astana as the Delhi Police Commissioner. The Ministry of Home Affairs order was in complete violation of Supreme Court's judgment in Prakash Singh versus Union of India case 2019. The judgment clearly laid down that no individual with less than 6 months of service left could be considered for appointment as head of the police force. Appointment of head of police force. In 2019, the Supreme Court had rejected the pleas made by the 5 states to implement their own local laws for selection and appointment of their Director General of Police, DGP. The court said its directions were issued in larger public interest and to protect the officials from political interference. The Supreme Court's 2018 guidelines. Earlier in July 2018, the Supreme Court had refrained the state governments from appointing DGPs without first consulting the Union Public Service Commission, UPSC. It came with the following guidelines. The state governments concerned have to send UPSC the names of probables 3 months before the incumbent DGPs are to retire. Second, the UPSC will prepare a panel of 3 officers fit to be DGP and send it back. The UPSC shall, as far as practicable, choose the people within the zone of consideration who have got a clear 2 years of service and must give due weightage to merit and seniority. The state in turn shall immediately appoint one of the persons shortlisted by the UPSC. On the practice of states appointing acting DGPs, the court rejected the idea of acting or temporary DGPs. That is, state shall appoint a person as permanent DGP. The court also ruled that any rule or state law on the subject of appointment of police officers will be kept in suspension. However, the states which have made laws on police appointments can move to court seeking modification of its order. Prakash Singh case. This is a remarkable case with respect to police reform. In Prakash Singh case of 2006, the Supreme Court gave 7 directives with the view to bring in police reforms. In passing these directives, the court put on record the deep-rooted problem of politicization, lack of accountability mechanisms, and systemic weaknesses that have resulted in poor all-round performance and fomented present public dissatisfaction with the policing. The directives are: first, constitute a State Security Commission, SSC, to ensure that the state government does not exercise unwarranted influence or pressure on the police. Lay down broad policy guidelines and evaluate the performance of the state police. Second, ensure that the DGP is appointed through merit-based transparent process and secure a minimum tenure of 2 years. Third, ensure that other police officers on operational duties, including superintendents of police in charge of a district and station house officers in charge of a police station, are also provided a minimum tenure of 2 years. Fourth, separate the investigation of law and order functions of the police. Fifth, set up a Police Establishment Board, PEB, to decide transfers, postings, promotions, and other service-related matters of police officers of and below the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police, and make recommendations on postings and transfers above the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police. Sixth, set up Police Complaints Authority, PCA, at state level to inquire into public complaints against police officers of and above the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police in case of serious misconduct, including custodial death, grievous hurt, or rape in police custody, at the district levels to inquire into public complaints against the police personnel below the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police in case of serious misconduct. 7. Set up a National Security Commission, NSC, at the union level to prepare a panel for selection and placement of chiefs of the Central Police Organization with a minimum tenure of 2 years. 391 complaints of sexual harassment, says Centre. A total of 391 complaints have been filed by the employees of central government ministries about sexual harassment at workplace. These complaints were filed on the government's SheBox portal, which was launched in 2017 for effective implementation of sexual harassment of women at workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. What is SheBox? The Ministry of Women and Child Development has launched Sexual Harassment Electronic Box, She-Box, as an effort to provide a single window access to every woman, irrespective of her work status, whether working in an organized or unorganized, private or public sector, to facilitate the registration of complaint related to sexual harassment. Any woman facing sexual harassment at the workplace can register the complaint through this portal. Once a complaint is submitted to the She-Box, it will be directly sent to the concerned authority having jurisdiction to take action into the matter. The Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act 2013. The Act defines sexual harassment at workplace and creates a mechanism for redressal of complaints. It also provides safeguards against false or malicious charges. Every employer is required to constitute an internal complaints committee at each office or branch with 10 or more employees. The complaints committee has the powers of civil court for gathering evidences. The complaints committee are required to provide for conciliation before initiating an inquiry if requested by the complainant. Penalties have been prescribed for employers. Non-compliance with the provisions of the Act shall be punishable with a fine. Repeated violations may lead to higher penalties and cancellation of license or registration to conduct businesses. The state government will notify the district officer in every district who will constitute a local complaints committee so as to enable women in the unorganized sector or small establishments to work in an environment free of sexual harassment. The long road to winning the battle against trafficking. July 30th is United Nations World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. It is also a time to reflect on India's human trafficking crisis. Between April 2020 and June 2021, an estimated 9,000 children have been rescued after being trafficked for labor, according to Child Rights Non-Governmental Organization. In other words, 21 children have been trafficked every day over nearly 15 months. The Childline India helpline received 44 lakh distress calls from 10 months. Over a year, 2,000 children have arrived at its shelter homes and 800 rescued from hazardous working conditions. So what is human trafficking? Human trafficking, also called trafficking in persons, form a modern day slavery, including the illegal transport of individuals by force or deception. Human trafficking, also called trafficking in persons, form a modern day slavery involving the illegal transport of individuals by force or deception for the purpose of labor, sexual exploitation, or activities in which others benefit financially. Increased vulnerability. The media frequently publishes individual stories of trafficking. Children as young as 12 are trafficked across states to work in factories in appalling conditions, where owners are turning to cheap labor to recoup their losses for the novel coronavirus pandemic. The problem of rampant child labor. A child rights NGO working in Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights has highlighted the problem of rampant child labor. In a certain stretch within the national capital, at least 120 children can be seen working. The factors causing increased vulnerability are identifiable. It report states the coronavirus has resulted in loss of income and economic crisis, causing families reduced capacity to care for children in the long term. In some cases, in some instances, loss of parental care due to death, illness or separation, thereby placing children at heightened risk for violence, neglect or exploitation. These factors are compounded by an erosion of some of the checks against child labor and child marriage provided by the law, as well as the scrutiny of schools and society. Relevant laws in India. Article 23 and 24 of the Constitution of India. Article 23 prohibits human trafficking and beggary, forced labor without payment. Article 24 forbids employment of children below the age of 14 years in dangerous jobs like factories and mines. Indian Penal Code Section 370 and 370A of IPC provide for comprehensive measures to counter the menace of human trafficking, including trafficking of children for exploitation in any form, including physical exploitation or any form of sexual exploitation, slavery, servitude, or forced removal of organs. Section 372 and 373 dealing with selling and buying of girls for the purpose of prostitution. Other legislations with respect to trafficking. The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956 is the premier legislation for prevention of trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation. There are other specific legislations enacted related to trafficking in women and children. Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, Bonded Labor System Abolition Act 1976, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986, Transplantation of Human Organs Act 1994. Protection of Children from Sexual Offences POSCO Act 2012 is a special law to protect children from sexual abuse and exploitation. State governments have also enacted specific legislations to deal with the issue. For example, the Punjab Prevention of Human Smuggling Act 2012. The cyber trafficking. The increase in internet access in current times has also led to cyber trafficking. An August 2020 report by a member of Child Rights Group in India notes that popular social media platforms and free messaging apps are often used to contact young people. Often, the trafficker or middleman lures the people to place under the pretext of offering him unemployment. Often, the trafficker or middleman lures the person to place under the pretext of offering him employment. Once removed from their locality, they face challenges of limited resources, unfamiliarity with the area and perhaps the local language, threats of violence from the trafficker, and importantly, the absence of any identifiable authority to approach other person than police, who are often seen as threats themselves, make it nearly impossible for trafficked persons to report the incident. A recent report by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime on the effects of pandemic on trafficking echoes these findings. It says traffickers are taking advantage of the loss of livelihoods and the increasing amount of time spent online to entrap victims, including by advertising false jobs on social media. It says traffickers are taking advantage of the loss of livelihoods and the increasing amount of time spent online to entrap victims, including by advertising false jobs on social media. In addition, there is an increased demand for child sexual exploitation material online due to these lockdowns, draft bill and the judicial issues. With focus now shifting to the new draft anti-trafficking bill, the point to be highlighted here is that there is no shortage of anti-trafficking policy in India. Where the system is found lacking is in the implementation of the laws. Significant discussion is required on the provisions of the bill, particularly with respect to bringing in the National Investigation Agency and increasing the punishment for offences including the death penalty as an option in some cases. It is not proven that more stringent laws, particularly the death penalty, have any greater deterrent effect on crime. The draft bill also provides for anti-human trafficking units or committees at the national, state and district levels, but as noted, their effective functioning cannot be taken for granted. Legislating without the political will to implement and monitor effectiveness is futile. Special attention must be paid to the challenges prosecutors and judges face in trafficking cases. There were 140 acquittals and only 38 convictions in 2019, according to the government data. This points to a failure of investigation and cannot be solved by the draft bill's provisions that accused traffickers must be presumed guilty unless they can prove the contrary. Further, trials can drag on for years, with victims sometimes withdrawing their complaints after being intimidated by traffickers. Proper case management must be introduced to give meaning to the fast-track courts. Other problems include the low number of beneficiaries of monetary compensation and lack of consistent access to psychological counseling. Parts of the draft bill recognize the importance of rehabilitation, but implementation is the key. Failure of existing institutional mechanisms. Most victims of trafficking are from low-income communities for whom the novel coronavirus pandemic and lockdowns have caused long-term financial distress. With schools continuing to be closed in much of India and no definite end to the pandemic in sight, it cannot be assumed that the incidence of trafficking will decline with a return to normalcy. That apart, the failure of existing institutional mechanisms to foresee the present crisis should spur the government and other stakeholders to take preventive action now. July 30th should be the beginning of the end of human trafficking in India. Rupee raises to 3-week high on Fed stance. The Indian rupee strengthened to its highest level in more than 3 weeks against the dollar, as the US Federal Reserve's dovish stance was a drag on the greenback, with gains in domestic equities also contributing to the rise. The rupee was trading at 74.25 per dollar compared with its close of 74.38, its strongest since July 6. What is this appreciation and depreciation of currency? In a floating exchange rate system, market forces based on demand and supply of currency determine the value of currency. Currency appreciation. It is an increase in the value of one currency in relation to another currency. Currencies appreciate against each other for a variety of reasons, including government policy, interest rates, trade balances, and business cycles. Currency appreciation discourages a country's export activity as its products and services becomes costlier to buy. What is currency depreciation? It is the fall in the value of currency in a floating exchange rate system. Economic fundamentals, political instability, or risk aversion can cause currency depreciation. Currency depreciation encourages a country's export activity as its products and services become cheaper to buy. With this, it's a wrap of the podcast for the day. Bye for now.